Attention! This is not material for passive consumption. It is designed to be heard with maximum concentration. The following revelations are direct, potentially disturbing, and may challenge your perceptions. Due to the sensitive nature of the content, its availability may be limited. Your experience on this topic is valuable. Leave it in the comments.
A tense, subtle intro music plays, with low strings building an atmosphere of quiet unease, then fades into a sinister, barely audible hum beneath the narration. You've finally found it. The silence, the sanctuary. For the first time in months, maybe years, you can breathe without a weight pressing down on your chest. Your shoulders aren't perpetually hunched, braced for the next cutting remark or unexplained silence. You can listen to a song without it pulling you back to a memory that burns. You can make plans with friends without that familiar knot of anxiety, wondering if it'll spark a fight or a guilt trip. You're starting to hear your own thoughts again, to trust your own feelings. You're beginning to feel like yourself, maybe for the first time in a long time. The peace is your proof of freedom. You've escaped the chaos, the control, the constant emotional whiplash. You've built a fragile but precious fortress around your heart, and it feels like a victory. A faint sound of a distant wind underscores the calm before the storm. And then it happens. Your phone vibrates. A sound you haven't heard in months. A name flashes on the screen, and your stomach drops like you've just stepped off a cliff. Your heart starts racing, your palms sweat, and that hard-won peace shatters like glass. The hunt has begun again. This isn't a second chance. This isn't a heartfelt plea for reconciliation. This is an ambush, a calculated breach of your defenses. This is a tactic known as hoovering. Named after the vacuum cleaner, hoovering is a deliberate, sinister manipulation used by narcissists and toxic ex-partners to suck you back into the cycle of abuse you fought so hard to escape. Let's be crystal clear. They don't miss you. They don't miss your laugh, your dreams, your soul. They miss your obedience. They miss your attention. They miss your pain. They miss the control. Their ego, a ravenous black hole, has run low on fuel, and they've returned to the most reliable source they know. You. This isn't a discussion about feelings. This is a tactical briefing, a survival guide. We're going to dissect the anatomy of this attack, expose the weapons in their arsenal, and arm you with the strategic knowledge to recognize the vacuum's roar from a mile away. More importantly, we'll give you the tools to keep your fortress bolted, locked, and barricaded for good. Pay attention. Your peace, your freedom, depends on it. Before we analyze their tactics, we need to understand their motive. A narcissist discards you when you stop being a high-quality source of their narcissistic supply, whether that's your admiration, your emotional reactions, or your compliance. But they rarely burn the bridge completely. They keep you on a mental shelf, a backup plan for when their current supply runs dry. The Hoover attempt is triggered when their world starts to wobble. Maybe their new partner or friend has seen through their mask and walked away. Maybe they're bored, craving the drama and power they once had over you. Or maybe they just need a quick hit of validation to soothe their fragile ego. Whatever the reason, their return is never about love, remorse, or connection. It's about refueling. You're not a person they're longing to reconnect with. You're a gas station they're pulling back into, hoping the pumps still work. Let's examine their arsenal. These are the primary weapons they'll deploy to breach your defenses, each one designed to exploit your emotions, your empathy, or your lingering trauma bond. The first weapon is the memory bombardment. This is a subtle, insidious attack that targets the trauma bond they spent months or years cultivating. It starts with a seemingly innocent message, a photo of you together from a vacation during the love bombing phase, when everything felt perfect, captioned, "Found this today. Remember how happy we were." Or they send you a link to your song with a note, "Heard this and thought of you." Maybe it's an inside joke, something only you two would get, dropped casually into your inbox like it's no big deal. Don't be fooled. This isn't reminiscing. It's a calculated strike. They're not sharing a fond memory. They're weaponizing it. They're trying to reactivate the trauma bond, that addictive push-pull dynamic that kept you hooked on the highs and lows of their abuse. They want you to forget the devaluation, The cutting remarks, the silent treatments, the discard. And remember only the idealized version of them from the beginning. They're banking on your brain's chemistry, hoping that rush of dopamine from the good times will cloud your judgment. They want you to romanticize the prison you escaped, to think, maybe it wasn't all bad, maybe I overreacted. That doubt is the crack in your armor they need to slip through. Take me as case. After 8 months of no contact with her ex, Ryan, she got a text, a photo of them at a beach they'd visited during their first month together, with the message, "Stumbled across this. Those were the best days." Mia's heart raced. For a moment, she forgot the months of gaslighting. The way Ryan would twist her words to make her doubt her reality. The way he'd discarded her without explanation. She almost replied, until she remembered that Ryan only reached out after she'd stopped reacting to his social media provocations. The photo wasn't a gesture of love. It was a lure to pull her back into his control. The second weapon is the false crisis. This tactic is a direct assault on your empathy, one of the qualities that made you a target in the first place. They know you're kind, compassionate, someone who cares deeply about others. They've spent months or years exploiting that, and now they'll use it against you again. The attack comes as a desperate, out-of-the-blue message. "I'm really sick, and I have no one else to turn to." Or, "My mom's in the hospital, and you were the only one who ever understood my family." Maybe it's, "I might lose my job, I'm so scared, I just need someone who gets me." They paint themselves as helpless, broken, alone, and you as their only savior. This is a trap. It's designed to bypass your logic and hit your heart. They know that ignoring someone in crisis feels like betraying your own values. They're putting you in an impossible position. Either you respond and open the door to their manipulation, or you ignore them and feel like a cold, heartless person. It's a brilliant, cynical move. It lets them re-establish contact under the guise of an emergency, making your no-contact rule seem petty or cruel by comparison. But here's the truth. Most of the time, the crisis is either wildly exaggerated or completely fabricated. It's a performance, scripted for an audience of one, you. Consider Alex's case. He'd been free from his narcissistic ex, Lauren, for 5 months when he got a late-night text. "I'm in a really bad place. I don't know if I can keep going. You were always the only one who could help me." Alex's instinct was to reply, to make sure she was okay. But something made him pause. He remembered how Lauren had used similar emergencies during their relationship to guilt him into doing what she wanted. He checked her social media and saw she'd posted a cheerful video that same day, laughing with friends. The bad place was a lie, designed to reel him back in. The third weapon is the flying pawns. This is a multi-pronged attack meant to destabilize you and gather intelligence. The goal is to provoke a reaction, any reaction, to prove you're still emotionally invested. One method is using mutual friends or acquaintances as unwitting spies. They'll have a friend casually reach out to you saying, "Hey, just checking in, how's it going?" Then report back to the narcissist. Or they'll use that friend to drop a subtle bomb. "I saw them last week, they asked about you. They seem really down." This is hoovering by proxy, a way of sending a message without contacting you directly. The more direct method is a social media assault. They'll suddenly post a photo with a new partner, often someone who looks eerily similar to you or your polar opposite. The photo will be a deliberate echo of a memory you shared, at your restaurant, on your hiking trail. The caption will be dripping with romance, mirroring the words they once used with you. This isn't about their happiness with the new person. It's a performance for you. They want to spark jealousy, regret, or insecurity. They want you to think, "They replaced me so easily." They want to incite a sense of competition, hoping you'll break your silence to prove you're better than the new supply. A response, a like, even just viewing their story, is a win for them. It tells them you're still watching, still engaged, and the game is still on. Let's look at Sarah's experience. After 3 months of no contact, her ex, Michael, posted a photo with a new partner at the same park where they'd had their first date. The caption read, "Feeling on top of the world with my favorite person. Sarah felt a pang of pain, wondering if she'd been replaced so quickly. But then she noticed the timing. Michael only posted it after she'd stopped responding to his earlier Hoover attempts. The photo was bait, designed to make her reach out in anger or sadness. She didn't take it. Perhaps the most seductive weapon is the false apology. This is the Hoover tactic most likely to succeed because it's tailored to everything you ever wanted to hear. After weeks or months of silence, you'll get a long, seemingly heartfelt message. It'll say all the right things. I've had time to think, and I was wrong. You were right about everything. I was broken and I hurt you and I'll regret it forever. They might even claim to have changed. I've been going to therapy. I'm finally understanding my patterns. I'm a different person now. This is the ultimate bait. The promise that the person you fell in love with during the love bombing phase was real and has finally returned. But this is a performance. It's the most sophisticated acting job of their lives. True, lasting change for someone with narcissistic traits is incredibly rare and requires years of intensive, grueling work with a skilled professional. It doesn't happen in a few weeks of self-reflection. This apology is a new script. They've learned that their old tactics no longer work, so they've adapted. They're telling you exactly what you need to hear to lower your guard. They're selling you the illusion of closure and a fresh start, when really, they're just trying to pull you back into the same cycle of abuse. If you accept the apology and let them back in, the mask will slip, and the devaluation will restart, often worse than before. Take Daniel's case. After 6 months of no contact, his ex, Emma, sent him a long email, apologizing for her mistakes and claiming she'd been in therapy. She said she missed him and wanted to make things right. Daniel, longing for closure, met her for coffee. Within weeks, she was back to her old patterns, criticizing him, manipulating his emotions, and blaming him for her problems. The therapy was a lie, and the apology was just a way to regain access to his supply. Finally, there's the weapon of error, the so-called accidental message. This is a low-risk, high-reward tactic for testing your no-contact defenses. After months of silence, you'll get a text that's clearly not meant for you. Can't wait to see you tonight, wear that red dress, or he doesn't know I'm still talking to you. Then, a moment later, another message. Oh my God, so sorry, that wasn't for you. Please ignore. This is pure manipulation. There was no mistake. The message was crafted for you, designed to spark curiosity, jealousy, or confusion. It gives them plausible deniability. They didn't really contact you. It was an accident. They can sit back and gauge your reaction. If you ignore it, they lose nothing. If you respond even with a simple "who's this" or "don't contact me again," you've lost. You've shown them the line is still open. You've taken the bait. Consider Rachel's experience. After 4 months of no contact, her ex, Chris, sent her a text. Picking you up at 8 for dinner, followed by, oops, wrong person, sorry. Rachel recognized it as a ploy. She'd seen him use accidental texts during their relationship to manipulate others. She didn't respond, and Chris's later attempts to Hoover her became more desperate, proving she'd made the right call. So, how do you defend against this multi-front assault? The foundation of your fortress is one non-negotiable rule: no contact. This isn't a punishment or a game. It's a medical necessity for your psychological survival. Block them everywhere: phone, social media, email, even payment apps. Block their friends and family who've acted as their flying pawns. It must be absolute. One crack in the wall is all they need to start their siege again. Think of it like recovering from an addiction. You can't have just one conversation or just one peek at their profile. It'll lead to a full-blown relapse into the trauma bond. The second part of your defense is a mental shift. Depersonalize the attack. Understand this cold, hard truth. They're not contacting you. They're contacting a source of supply. They don't miss your unique spark, your humor, your heart. They miss how you made them feel about themselves: powerful, admired, in control. It's not personal. When you remove your ego from the equation, when you realize this isn't about your irreplaceable worth to them, you strip away their power. You're not a lost love they're trying to reclaim. You're a resource they're trying to exploit again. But defense alone isn't enough. You need to rebuild your fortress brick by brick. Educate yourself about narcissistic abuse. Read books by experts like Sam Vaknin or Melanie Tonia Evans to understand their tactics. Gaslighting, triangulation, hoovering. Knowledge is your armor. Seek therapy if you can, ideally with someone trained in trauma or narcissistic abuse recovery. Cognitive behavioral therapy can help you challenge the negative beliefs they planted, like, I'm not enough, or I caused this. Join support groups, online or in person, where you can share your story and hear from others who've survived. Their validation will remind you that you're not alone, and their strength will inspire your own. Reclaim your life by rediscovering what they tried to erase. Pick up the hobbies they mocked. Pursue the dreams they dismissed. Reconnect with the friends they isolated you from. Start small. Take a walk. Write in a journal. Try something new. Every step you take for yourself is a step away from their control. Practice self-compassion. That critical voice in your head. That's their voice, not yours. Replace it with kindness. Tell yourself what you'd tell a friend in your shoes. You are enough. You are worthy. You didn't deserve this. Forgive yourself. You didn't see the red flags because they're masters at hiding them. You didn't cause the abuse. You were targeted because of your empathy, your strength, your light. Those aren't weaknesses. They're gifts. The narcissist saw your value and tried to dim it, but they failed. You're still here, still standing, still capable of healing and thriving. The sound of your silence is the sound of your victory. Every Hoover attempt you ignore isn't just a battle won. It's a brick laid in the foundation of your new life. Every notification you refuse to open is a reinforcement of your sovereignty. Let them scream into the void. Let them perform for an audience of zero. You're no longer on their stage, no longer a pawn in their chaotic game. You're the architect of your own peace. Leave them in the vacuum. It's where they belong.